Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this pre-recorded version of our Unit 9 seminar. We'll go ahead and get started. As usual, we'll review last week's work. Remember last week we were talking about technology and how technology affects every facet of business. We looked at how technology could help in the administration area, office area, how data maintained in for marketing, to keep track of customers, to keep track of potential leads, and we looked at the different areas of sales and accounting. If your business is going to involve manufacturing, actually making a product, then you have a whole different set of data requirements. And obviously anything related to customer service, you want to keep track of the things that are going to affect your customer service. So technology plays an important role in any business. We looked at the criteria for judging technology, especially software, in looking at choosing between different software packages. And of course it's important that the software be easy to use, and the other facets that you see here on the screen. But far and away it is more important to pay attention to those first 6 items than it is that last item. Because if you go with a cheap product, a less expensive product that does not meet your requirements in those first 6 areas, you will end up spending more money in the long run. Sometimes you get what you pay for. So don't let cost be the overriding factor. Determine your correct choice based on how well it's going to help your business and how easy it is to use and manage. Okay. We also looked at the made distinction between operating your own computer operations. That included the purchase and installation of hardware and the maintaining of a staff of technicians that know how to operate the software and create or design new software for you. Comparing that to using cloud-based software, which gives you access from a variety of platforms and gives you a variety of software that's already created that a number of businesses use. And the fact that if you own the entire facility, the hardware and the software, if you actually have created your own and you keep it under your own premises, now the upgrades become very involved. Okay, and very expensive, where if you're using cloud-based software, because the usage is spread over so many users, the individual expense for upgrades are normally much less. And then we looked at the importance of data security, regardless of whether you're using the cloud or whether it's on-site based. And the fact that you need privacy of your data so that competitors and other parties cannot get into your data. We routinely see instances of hackers getting into data, like they did the Home Depot data or the Target data a few years ago, where they get access to the customer database. And of course there's personal information in that database. Well, you don't want to be in that same situation where either A, the data for your company is being gotten at, or the data relating to your customers is getting attacked. So you want to have good, strong security on your information, your data, and by the same token you want it to be private. We looked at a number of policies that you can establish. Everything from whether or not your employees can use your system to surf the web or to send personal emails. Basically establishing the procedures and policies that your company is going to go by, operate by, as it relates to security of data. In addition, we talked about how important it is to maintain data, but it's more than just getting the data and figuring out how to analyze it, what kind of statistical tools you're going to use to analyze your data. But it's most important to understand what the numbers mean once you get the numbers. So it's not enough just to maintain numbers, but to have a system for evaluating those numbers and then for bringing the essence of what those numbers mean into the operational environment of your company. In other words, making decisions based on that information. And then we looked at some of the legal ramifications of various ways of organizing your firm. Again, we went through a series of these looking at who owns the company, who has the right to make decisions regarding the company's property, and who has liability in case the company has a difficult time maintaining its payments on loans and things like that. We also looked at the tax ramifications. In other words, if are you getting taxed on your own personal income, or is the corporation getting taxed on its profits and then the shareholders get taxed on their share of the dividends coming from that corporation? In other words, double taxation. We also looked at the B Corporation, which is a benevolence corporation, and we'll talk much more about that in tonight's seminar. So, we spent a little bit more time talking about partnerships because many small businesses have to start out as partnerships, a couple people going in together, and the fact that each partner has the authority to commit that company to loans or whatever, but that both partners have the full responsibility to repay any debts. So if one partner doesn't have let's say the business has difficulty and there's a loan due to be paid and the bank is wanting their money now, and if one of the partners doesn't have enough assets to pay their share of the loan, if you will, the other partner is going to have to cough up the whole amount. Okay, if they're able. So that is a downside of partnerships. So just be aware when you're entering into a partnership what the ramifications are. We talked a little bit about intellectual property and how to protect that. We also talked about non-disclosure agreements and non-compete agreements. Non-disclosure agreement, you remember, is just where if you're sharing information about your company with somebody, you ask them to sign an agreement that they will not divulge that information to anyone over some period of time or infinitely. Where a non-compete agreement is taking somebody who you have a contractual arrangement with or who is an employee and who's now going to know the secrets of how you run your organization, and you require them to sign a non-compete agreement, which means they won't leave you and turn around and start a competing business for some specified period of time. It might be for 3 years, it might be for 5 years, whatever. But that's for your key employees who are really going to know the business and could easily go off and start their own version of the business. Okay. Many times we talked a little bit about how often various businesses need to work with contractual arrangements. So you make a proposal to a client, and then you enter into a contract with that client if they accept your proposal. And we looked at what kinds of information would need to be included in that kind of a contract. It's important that both parties understand fully what the contract requires and what their rights are in that contract. So the more clearly that is spelled out, and in this case, I would definitely rely on a lawyer's help in any time create any kind of a contract. Okay. Then we looked at taxes and the various tax situations that companies encounter, from looking at the corporate income taxes that the corporation would have to pay to the federal government, the state income taxes if there is such, and then going down the payroll taxes, the various things that a business is responsible for either contributing to the employees' accounts in the way of taxes, in the case of the Social Security matching tax and Medicare tax, or the state unemployment and disability insurance taxes. So there are things that the company pays that the employee never sees. There are other parts that the company pays that is withheld from the employee's paycheck to cover part of that. And so the company is the one responsible for doing this. And then finally, we looked at sales tax. Again, depending on the state that you're in, most states do have sales tax now. Any retail sales, there has to be tax collected and that sent to the state. Okay, obviously if you have any questions, make sure you get in touch with me. I will do my best to answer them. Now, moving into our topic for tonight, we're going to be looking at social responsibility among companies, and then we'll look at globalization. We know that businesses were created by the owner for the purpose of generating money, for the purpose of generating a profit. And so a business can't really function without profit. But then, on the other hand, does a company, a corporation, or a small firm, have responsibilities to society as a whole and to the world in terms of ecology? So those are the areas that we want to discuss tonight and look at the interaction, if you will, between the profit motive and these socially responsible motives. Okay, an example, and we refer to this as corporate social responsibility, CSR, and some of you might be familiar with examples of companies that advertise a lot, and they may advertise how socially responsible they are and how ecologically sound they are, and how the pictures show such a verdant area and wildlife flocking there, and just how beautiful it is after the company is done using the land. However, flying over the land, you might see that it doesn't look at all like that. And you scratch your head and you say, is this company being socially responsible? They may well be if they're able to refurbish the land back to its natural pre-mining state, if you will. Or are they just advertising that they are socially responsible, which is true? And so that's something to be aware of when you're evaluating other companies and what they do. And you don't want to be in a situation where your company is pretending to be responsible and then doing the exact opposite in their function. Okay, another example of that social responsibility is responsibility to employees. Okay. And so there's a difference between organizing the work so that employees have an effective way to work without being, in effect, a sweatshop. Okay, the sweatshop alternative is where the employee is not treated fairly at all. They're not given breaks. They're not, their excess work is demanded of them at very low wages, and wages below what would be appropriate in that marketplace. Okay. We also see corporate social responsibility in helping to take care of the less fortunate people in the world. Here we have a case of children starving as opposed to companies that actually contribute and assist in feeding the hungry. We see food lines set up, at various holidays and other times of the year, and many companies actively support these. So, that is one more facet of social responsibility. You're probably, if you remember back a few units, we talked about how Tom's Shoes was organized their entire operation, their entire sales operation, around what they felt was being socially responsible and helping very poor people. In other words, they would sell a pair of shoes, and then they would, for each pair of shoes they sold, they would donate another matching pair of shoes to poor children around the world. And they extended this into other areas, including eyeglasses, and other companies have followed suit. And the question becomes, is this a socially responsible approach that a company can take? And if so, how effective is it? Okay, we're going to pause for a moment actually and change direction just a little bit. We still want to talk about corporate social responsibility, but we want to talk about how it has changed over time. So, for instance, the normal picture of a corporation is the fact that it's there strictly for business. It's strictly for profit. That's the only thing. And you see the reference here at the bottom. If you want to explore this concept in more detail later, please go to that web address. But so business was formed initially just for the purpose of generating profit for its owners. And the business needed a certain amount of sales in order to be sustainable. If a business does not generate profit, it does not matter what kind of business it is, if it does not generate sufficient profit to repay its investors, the business will go out of business. Okay? So, but these very profit-oriented companies, their concern was with protecting their shareholder or owner's value. And so therefore, there was very little even consideration of corporate social responsibility. As time progressed, we found companies seeing an advantage in advertising through, in order to improve their marketing, to indicate that they were socially responsible. Similar to that slide I showed earlier with the very pleasant views of the ecology, and then the reality is totally different. Okay, here's a case where much effort is spent in advertising and promoting that the company is socially responsible, but they may not really be socially responsible. In that case, we would consider that to be a fake approach, and that was the initial approach that some businesses took toward social responsibility. As time went on, we found that people, including business owners and business managers, recognized that we need to have a sustainable planet if businesses are going to be able to continue. Okay, so we must be able to protect people, and so you see the people and planet, sustainability is required in order for the business to continue making a profit. And once a business recognizes that, they move up a notch, if you will, in progression toward a more mature corporate social responsibility. In this case, they would generate profit, and finally, in a retroactive way, they would take some of that profit and they would spend it on socially responsible areas. So it may be donations in the case of philanthropy, or similar kinds of things. Okay, so this is the next level from pretending that you're being socially responsible to taking some of your profits and investing them or donating them in a way that is socially responsible. Okay. But as time goes on and companies and the managers and owners of these companies realize how important being responsible is, that some companies come to the point where they are established for the purpose, the dual purpose, if you will, of providing some socially responsible benefits to the society as a whole and generating a profit. Again, similar to Tom's Shoes, okay? Where Tom's Shoes is able to donate. Why? Because they are profitable. They make enough money off selling their shoes that there's enough extra money left to, instead of funneling all of that profit to their owners, they funnel some of it into providing shoes to poor people around the country, or poor children around the world. And so here, the whole design of the company is that dual function, if you will, of being socially responsible and generating a profit, so that the social responsibility does not suffer in the effort to make more profit, and profit itself does not suffer and is not totally done away with because the company is being socially responsible. Two different situations. And this is where that beneficial corporation, the B Corp that we were talking about earlier, came into being. These are companies because, remember, in a C Corp, a regular corporation, the shareholders are the key element. Okay? The business is organized around providing shareholder value. If management does not provide that shareholder value, the shareholders will eliminate the managers and replace them. Okay? So therefore, it was not fiduciary correct for a business to just willy-nilly donate large sums of money or major proportions of their profit to socially responsible goals. So in order to get around that, a whole different type of corporate structure was created, a legal corporate structure, which gives, if the business is organized for the purpose of providing both social responsibility and providing profit to its owners, then that is written into its charter so that the shareholders cannot in turn criticize or eliminate the managers that they've hired because they are functioning in a socially responsible way. Okay? So that's a key driver, if you will. So in the long run, these companies find that it is to their benefit to be both responsible and to be profit oriented, and that there's a way to do that. Businesses can be organized around that medium, if you will. Okay, moving on a little further. Another aspect of social responsibility deals with ecology. And again, we kind of lump all that together, but you might recognize some of these certificates, especially the LEED, the Leadership, Energy, and Environment Design, or green buildings. Anytime you see a green building, a building that has met these qualifications, you'll see the LEED designation related to the design of that building. And more buildings are being built this way. We know that there are certain requirements if a produce is going to be classified as organic. Well, the United States Department of Agriculture has established criteria for what organic is, and that symbol can be displayed on their product if indeed they meet those requirements. Energy Star, again, very specific requirements that define when a product can be considered energy efficient and can meet the requirements, then they can use the certification of Energy Star. And likewise the rest of these, fair trade and humane handling. The humane handling relates to how the livestock is treated, trying to get away from the keeping them in pens where they can't move, where their joints atrophy because they can't do anything but stand in one position, for their entire life. So getting away from that kind of thing and promoting more humane treatment of the animals that we're going to eat ultimately. They're there for our food. So let's talk a little bit now about globalization. Okay, and you say, well, my business is small, the one I want to start. I can't see being global, going international, but it is something that you need to be aware of. Okay, because there can be globalization in virtually every business. Okay, why would we consider that? Well, first off, there's the potential for many more customers. Once you've gone through, and basically saturated the market in your country, if you're able to go to other countries, then that gives you the potential of many more customers. Remember, there are almost 9 billion people in the world today. Many of them are well enough off to be able to afford to buy things. So also, it gives you access to many more suppliers, some of which may be able to supply at a much lower cost than your current suppliers do. Likewise, more distributors and representatives to market your product, and many more locations that you can be in. So there's many advantages to being global. If indeed that does fit your business model, be aware that as you involve other countries, that each country or each society has its own norms and its own acceptable ways of behaving. And so you can't come in as a thinking that your way is the only way. To give you an example, it's not unusual for people to sit with their legs crossed in a way that the heel of their or the sole of their foot would be exposed. You've seen people sitting in business meetings with their legs crossed like that. In many countries, it is an insult to display the sole of your foot, the sole of your shoe, in any way that a potential partner or customer or whatever can see it. That's considered unacceptable in some countries. So it's more than just the language you use to say hello. There's ways to research this if indeed you are exploring, international business. Another thing to be concerned about is the difference in value of money. We have an exchange rate for most economies, but we have to be careful of how we're marketing our product in terms of what exchange rate we're looking at. Okay? So you can't just automatically assume that no matter what, the person is going to be thinking in terms of the dollar price that you set on your product. They need to convert that to their currency, and so if you're advertising in their area, you want to have it in their currency. That's common sense. Okay. So what are the questions that we need to be concerned about if we're considering going global? Okay. Well, first off, are there target markets out there that will be of value that we can expand into? Okay. Is how, when we market ourselves, what different ways do we need to market the product so that it is acceptable to the people in different countries? And how do we conduct the sales, the actual sales transaction, given the cultural norms in different countries? Okay. How about management requirements? If you have an operation in various countries, there are different requirements that the governments in those countries will set on the labor laws. So you need to be aware of those. And you may find a different way of stimulating a worker's performance. And so encouraging them in different ways. So it needs to be ways that are consistent with the culture that you're dealing with. Okay, dealing with money, we've already mentioned the currency requirements. So we will need to be aware of that as we explore different countries. And then legal issues, as we hinted at that in the labor area, but different countries have different requirements in a number of areas relating to the legal environment in which a business functions. Okay? And then finally, what is our social responsibility when we're functioning on a global basis? Okay? So it's one thing to operate your business in a certain way here in the United States, okay, going by all the rules. But because you transfer your operation to another country where the rules are not as precise, it does not give you carte blanche authority, if you will, to be socially irresponsible and pollute the environment and do all the other things that you know are inappropriate. Okay? So social responsibility is with us at all times. Okay. Obviously, if you have any, excuse me, excuse me, I have to get a drink to get my throat going again. So, obviously, if you have any questions, make sure you get a hold of me. And so what do we have this week? Well, we got 2 chapters to read, 17 and 18. Of course, we have our normal activities. Your discussion this week is going to deal with Facebook, with its organizer, Mr. Mark Zuckerberg. And so you'll do some research in that area and discuss that. And your Unit 9 assignment is just your final project. Excuse me again. Sorry about that. Don't know what's going on with my throat all of a sudden. So remember, in Unit 8 you did not have to submit the assignment, but you had to begin working on it. In Unit 9 you will complete the rest of the requirements as you see here, and include all of Unit 8. You'll do it in a nice APA format paper that's easy to read and covers the key points for your business. So, wish you all good luck on that project, and realize that next week there is no seminar in Unit 10. We have the review and reflection unit, but make sure that in Unit 10 you do the Unit 10 assignment. There is an assignment in Unit 10, a writing assignment, and there is an additional part of your final project. It's your PowerPoint presentation basically it's your elevator pitch and summary of your business. Okay. So that comes in week 10. So I kind of consider it as part of the final project, even though you turn in the final project in Unit 9. The actual PowerPoint presentation will be done in Unit 10. So make sure you look over the requirements for that. If you have any questions, make sure you get a hold of me. And I would like to say also to remember to look at the gradebook. And if you have any zeros in your gradebook, you need to get the assignments into me, okay, so that I can get them graded before the course is over. Also, if you're missing any of the discussion thread, if you have a 0 for any of the discussions, then you can email them to me for partial credit. I can't give full credit for late discussions because you can't discuss anymore with your classmates, but I can at least give partial credit if you get the answer to the question and your reference in. But I'm going to need it really soon. I need it by Tuesday at midnight, otherwise I won't be able to get final grades in. So, that said, there is a certain amount of sadness because this is our last seminar for this particular class. And, of course, you know how to contact me. Keep my contact information with you. But I do want to thank each one of you who's currently enrolled in the class because you've done an outstanding job. You've taken a course that is not easy, and you've done the work it takes to be successful in this class. Okay? So I consider it a great privilege that you have let me join you as a companion, if you will, on this journey of learning how to start a business. I am still here for you even after the course is over with, so please keep me on your contact list, and when you have questions that relate to any of these topics, feel free to get a hold of me. With that, thank you very much. I realize we're finishing the seminar up quite a bit early tonight, but on these pre-recorded seminars we don't really have the ability to take questions, so makes the seminar a little shorter. So with that, again, thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing how successful you are in the future. Goodbye.